you guys know that Europe is in a very delicate situation right now because Putin has demanded all the unfriendly nations, they pay for their gas, not in euros, not in US dollars, but in rubles, right? So the ruble, the Russian currency, is in the gutter because of all these sanctions. And one way to shore it up is, of course, to demand that all these unfriendly countries pay for their gas in rubles. And Europe gets 40% of its gas from Russia, right? Let me just to jog your memory before I break down what's happened now. Let me just jog your memory and play the announcement, okay?
Поставлять наши товары в Европейский Союз, в Соединенные Штаты и получать оплату в долларах, евро, в ряде других валют не имеет для нас уже никакого смысла. Поэтому мною принято решение в самое короткое время реализовать комплекс мер по переводу оплаты. Начнем с этого, с нашего природного газа, переводу оплаты нашего природного газа, поставляемого в так называемые недружественные страны, за российские рубли. То есть...
Right, so basically Putin is telling the Europeans, either you pay up in rubles or you can freeze or, sit in the dark with no electricity. And in the meantime, the United States has come in and drawn up a gas deal with the EU. Didn't I tell you? I told you this several times. I told you that the US is going to come in and try to take a bite out of Russia's market share. Now, granted, this is not a lot. It would have been much more if they actually had the infrastructure to get the gas from the US, which I'll get to in a second. But they did this nonetheless. Here's Biden with the head of the EU Commission, right, when they're announcing this.
Putin has issued Russia's energy resources to coerce and manipulate its neighbors. That's how he's used it. He's used the profits to drive his war machine. And that's why earlier this month I announced the United States would ban all imports of Russian energy to make it clear that American people would not be part of subsidizing Putin's brutal, unjustified war against the people of Ukraine.
The transatlantic partnership stands stronger and more united than ever. And we are determined to stand up against Russia's brutal war. This war will be a strategic failure for Putin. As you know, we aim to reduce this dependency on Russian fossil fuels and to get rid of it. And this can only be achieved through, of course, first of all, investment in renewables, but also through additional gas supplies, including LNG deliveries. So we want, as Europeans, to diversify away from Russia towards suppliers that we trust, that are friends, and that are reliable.
I can't stand them. They're really special, aren't they? So again, just to give you an idea how little this gas deal is, it's still significant. Like don't get me wrong. People are making money from this, and I told you that the U.S. gas companies, they're dying to do this. They can't wait to get in and take a bite out of the European market share. You should never underestimate the ability of the corporations in the United States, in the West, to make money out of chaos. That's why the weapons dealers, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Northrop, their stocks are like up 20%, right? Because war is good. And this war is also good for gas companies in the US. So let's take a look here. Again, last year, the EU imported 155 billion cubic meters of natural gas from Russia. Okay, keep that figure in mind. Because the stuff that they're going to get from the US is just 15. It's only 15 out of 100 and... it's only 15 compared to 155 billion. I mean, that's nothing. It's like, 10% of what Russia is giving the EU. Do you understand? So the United States is not going to give the EU 10% of what the EU needs. No. It's even less than that. The United States can only give the Russians 10%. Sorry, the United States can only give the Europeans 10% of what the Russians are giving the Europeans right now. So it's not even, it's nowhere near enough to replace the EU dependency on Russian gas. Yeah, I mean, it's lunacy. And let me explain something to you, because if you think this can go from like one day to the next, like they just flick a switch and say, we want the gas coming from the US. No, it doesn't work like that. No. It doesn't work like that at all. So I'm going to explain to you why this is such a disaster in a second. And we shouldn't be laughing. Actually, we should be crying. Here's the response from the G7. So the G7 have told Russia, no. They say, we are not going to pay for gas in rubles. Forget it. We're not doing that. Okay? So Germany, which currently holds the G7 presidency, said that the Russian demand was, quote, a unilateral and clear breach of the existing agreements. Because basically their point is that these contracts don't only say Russia has to give X amount of gas to Germany per year. They also say what currency the deal has to be settled in, which in most cases is euros. There's a little bit in dollars, but most of it is euros in terms of Gazprom and what it exports to Europe. And so the G7 have come out and said, we're not going to pay for that. Forget about it. Now the Russians, have said, okay, we're going to turn off the valves. There's no more gas then. This is what they said, right? So according to Reuters, Russian lawmaker says G7 refusing to pay rubles will mean gas supply halt, right? So a Russian lawmaker, Ivan Abramov, on Monday said the refusal by the G7 to pay for Russian gas in rubles would lead to an unequivocal halt in supplies. And of course, I posted about this also on Twitter. There was another quote that I want to read to you. And Russia basically said that we are not going to supply gas for free. Because last time, I was wondering what's going to happen. I told you guys that I was wondering if the Europeans will just continue to send the payments in euros or dollars, and then Russia's just going to send the payments back. Okay? No. So it's really straightforward. If they do that, Russia's just going to turn off the gas. Now, again, keep in mind, Russia's not saying they're going to give less gas or more gas. It's the exact same amount of gas. They just want to be paid in rubles. And that means that the Europeans would have to go and buy the equivalent of 200 to 800 million euros in rubles every day. Again, Russia makes 30 to 40 billion euros a year from gas exports to Europe. So this idea that the Europeans can just replace Russian gas with American gas is lunacy. They are really dreaming. You heard the EU Commissioner von der Leyen, she's saying that we want, she looks at Biden and she's like, we want gas from people we trust. Like as if Biden even knows what planet he's on right now. And so this is absurd because Germany does not even have one single LNG terminal. LNG is liquefied natural gas. That's what the US is offering. How the hell are you going to get the gas in the first place? You don't have any terminals. Look at this map. Look at this catastrophe, man. This is a disaster in the making. So the ones in blue are operational. You can see Spain has a couple of them, right? The UK also has a few. Does Germany have any? No, not one single LNG terminal. Not one. They've just announced that they're going to build 2. Do you know how long that takes? That takes many years to build. That's not something you can just build like a nursery or something. No, this is very complex. It takes a long time. And of course, the other option that you can use to import gas is FSRUs. So these are floating storage and regasification units. So basically, it's not just a ship that brings the gas. It also converts it on board. Okay, so it converts the cooled stuff to the gas on board. Now the thing is, there aren't enough. First of all, there are no LNG terminals in Germany, just as one example. And on top of it, there aren't enough of these ships in the world. So even if the EU wants to pay for those boats, they want these vessels, they just don't exist. Because, there's a few of them that they can buy, but my point is it's not enough, right? It's nowhere near enough. So they go into detail here about the situation, right? As we were saying, the US will deliver at least 15 billion cubic meters of liquefied natural gas to the EU. Okay. Is that enough? Absolutely not. So, as we were saying, it will take years for terminals to be built. Years. Right? And as I was saying, Germany has no LNG terminals at all, not a single one. And of course, if you look at the boats, okay, let me go to the boats to show you these specialized vessels that can also be used, the FSRUs. So basically, yeah, here we go. Oh, okay, this map also has the LNG terminals. Very good. So it's the same thing as I was just showing you, right? There's only 2 of them planned in Germany, but not one that's operational, and that takes years to build, right? They say land-based LNG import terminals take at least 5 years to build. Do you know when the deadline is? The deadline is after tomorrow. Putin said the Russian central bank and Gazprom, which is the state-owned gas company, have 1 week to come up with a plan to do what he's saying, that gas will only be sold in exchange for rubles. He said March 31st. That's in 2 days. And an LNG terminal takes 5 fucking years to build. What are the Europeans thinking? I'm really curious, like, where do they think this gas is going to come from? It's going to fall from the sky? Even if you bought all the goddamn LNG the US has, you have no way of importing it. Even if you get it through Spain. Look at Spain. They have a couple of terminals, right? I think they have the most terminals in Europe. Correct me if I'm mistaken. So they have the most in Europe. Even then, you don't have the pipelines to bring that to Germany. You don't have, and Germany's just one country. I'm just talking about one country out of the whole EU. Do you know how screwed the EU is right now? I'm really like shocked. I feel like these people are so stupid. These EU bureaucrats. How can they be this dumb? They cannot be this dumb, can they? Oh, it looks like they are. It looks like they are. They are really dumb. Globally, you only have 50 FSRUs, right? So these are the special ships that you can use instead of an LNG terminal. You only have 50, okay? And this CEO of one of these companies that runs FSRUs estimates that only 5 ships are available and 3 could be released from contracts this year. Because, of course, as you guys know, ships must be chartered, right? You pay the owner or the company that owns it money to use it to transport cargo and so on. So this guy is saying that you have 50 of these ships globally. 5 are available, and maybe 3 will be let go of their contracts. So you would have a total of 8. And some of them don't even work in Europe because it's too cold, right? They're not all equal. They're not all made equal. And some European countries, it's just going to be too cold for them to actually work there. Since this war has started, the charter rates for these vessels have increased at least 50%, right? So one day, just to have them for one day, is between $150,000 to $180,000. So to run it for a year would cost between $40 million and $60 million just for one boat, which doesn't even bring you enough gas. Do you know what this means? Number one, there will not be enough gas. And number two, even those who are lucky enough to get these boats will be paying through the nose. And when I say they will be paying through the nose, I don't mean the politicians. I mean you and me, the civilians, the Europeans will be paying through the fucking nose. All because they want to shoot themselves in the foot and not take the Russian gas. Or not pay for it in rubles at least. Right? And then here's what's hilarious, because they go screaming, they say Russia's breaching the contract. Russia is blackmailing us. Motherfucker, you just sanctioned Russia. You just made Russia the number one sanctioned country on earth. That is blackmail. You're fucking with its economy to get political concessions. And now you're upset that Russia is fucking with your economy to get political concessions. Russia's not even trying to fuck with your economy. They're literally giving you the gas. They just want their ruble, their currency back up. They're not even trying to do something that's, malicious per se. They're still going to give you the gas. If Russia really wanted to be assholes, they would shut the fucking valves off and just sell the stuff to the Asians, right? They would go east, Mongolia, China. They can export the same amount of gas and get paid in not just the same equivalent, but also in rubles, they could get paid. If Russia wanted to be malicious, they would just turn off the fucking valves. They don't need your money. I mean, again, they wanted to shore up the ruble. Sure, there is a short-term goal here, but long-term, they can go east. Where is Europe going to go when they don't have FSRUs and they don't have LNG terminals? You fucking morons. Look at the reserves. This story just keeps getting worse, man. These are the gas reserves of each EU country. Do you want to know? Oh, it's a disaster. Oh, it's a disaster. Look at this. So here is the full capacity, okay? And this is the percentage, basically, of the reserves that they have, right? So Belgium has 14% of reserves left. The lucky one, I'd say, is Denmark. They've got near 40%, right? Germany's got 26%. And even before the war started, look at this from Euronews. The headline reads, Germany's gas reserves are at worrying levels, admits government. So this is on the 10th of February, 2022. There was no war. There was nothing happening with Russia. There were no sanctions. So already then they were screwed. Do you know how long this is going to last? This means that most European countries will have enough gas for like 1 month. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if my math is completely solid. I'm just eyeballing it here, but my point still stands. 1 month, 6 months, there's a disaster coming. Do you understand? There's a disaster coming because the Europeans just don't have the infrastructure to get gas from anywhere else, no matter how hard you try. And that's why the Americans, they're making money, yes, but that's why the amount that they're giving is peanuts compared to what the Russians are giving Europe. This is so dumb. So not only did the Americans get Europe and Germany to cancel Nord Stream 2, this is going even further. It's really the embodiment of shooting oneself in the foot. And then you have Joe Biden tweeting crap like this, saying that Russia's economy was ranked the 11th biggest economy in the world before this invasion. It will soon even rank. It will soon not even rank among the top 20 in the world. So, I mean, number one, the guy's gloating, or whatever staffer writes this for him, is gloating at the sanctions, which, again, I've told you are siege warfare. Putin's lifestyle doesn't change. It's just a fact. All of his friends, same thing. Doesn't change. It's Russian civilians who get hurt. And now the blowback is going to come to Europe. The whole point with the sanctions, why do they do sanctions? They know that Putin, Assad, whoever is the Mr. Evil of the day, they know that it's not going to affect them. They're not stupid. If I know this and you know this, they know this. The point is that they want to squeeze the country so bad, they want to make people suffer so fucking bad that they get on the street and they start protesting and they overthrow the government. That's the whole point of sanctions, right? It's to put pressure on the people so that they revolt, they overthrow the government. Let me tell you something. What you're going to see in Europe, if the gas gets cut off, if Russia turns off the gas because the Europeans refuse to pay in rubles, you are going to see way bigger protests and way bigger unrest in Europe than you will see in Russia. And once again, what do we have here? The West shooting itself in the foot. Please, if you know something that I don't know, if you're aware of some secret gas reserves that the EU has somewhere, I would love to know about it. Because what I'm looking at, what I just showed you, does not look very promising, does it? It doesn't look very good. Can you imagine what this is going to do? I mean, first of all, the industry is going to collapse. I mean, you're already raising the prices astronomically. But when not just the prices are high, there's just literally not enough supply. My goodness, everything is going to get screwed. The agriculture, the industry, the service sector. I don't know what kind of strategy this is. I really don't get it. Somebody enlighten me. Did I miss something here from this brilliant plan? Because there's 3 days left. If the Europeans don't pay in 3 days, that's it. The Russians will turn off the valves, and the reserves are low. So you explain to me what's the brilliant plan here, because I don't see it. I really fail to see it, and I think it really shows you the kind of arrogance, because the Europeans, the EU and the United States and the UK, they're so used to like shitting on smaller countries. They just like bully Iran and they bully Syria and they bully Venezuela. And now for once, you've got somebody who can like sanction them back in a sense, right? It's not malicious. It's just out of defense to get the ruble up. And they're not used to that. I don't think the pennies dropped. And unfortunately, it's not really something to laugh at, because Russia sanctioning Europe back is once again not going to affect the politicians. It's going to affect the civilians. It's the truth. It's the truth. You will have lots of people who lose their jobs. You have people who won't be able to eat. There might not be electricity. I don't want to fearmonger, but please explain to me if I'm wrong. Please tell me, what is the master plan here? What do you think is going to happen when there's no more gas coming? 40%. 40%. It's not nothing. It's not 4% or 14. 40. That's almost half the gas supply of Europe is not coming in anymore. And the reserves are low. What are they going to do? Explain it to me. This is terrible. This is really dumb. So now we got to see who's going to blink first, right? We got to see whether the Europeans blink first. And I don't think the Russians are going to blink. I think the Russians are in the mindset right now. There's a saying that we have in Arabic. It's quite vile, so I'm not going to translate it 100%. But there's a saying called "Khariyane khariyane khaliyat shatti khara," right? It's like when a situation is already so screwed, you're like, just screw it. So I think the Russians, the Russians can see what's happening. The central bank, half the assets have already been frozen. The hysteria against Russia has gotten so bad, it's like even extended to classical composers. They're like canceling dead Russians. I think at this point the Russians like, you know what, we got nothing to lose. Let's just see who blinks first. If they pay, good. If they pay in rubles, good. And if they don't, we'll just go eastward. I mean, which I think is again a separate issue. How they're kind of pushing Russia into China's arms. Idiots. This is the worst thing you could do. If I were in Washington, this is the last thing on earth that I would ever do. All of this, everything that's happened right now. First of all, who the fuck cares about Ukraine if you're in the US? The United States is like on the other side of the planet. Ukraine is not a strategic, it doesn't have any strategic or military value except to antagonize Russia, which again, I failed to see the strategic value of that. You've already got the fucking place surrounded. On top of that, you've basically undermined your own hegemony, because now people want to trade in commodities that matter, oil, gas, in something other than the US dollar. You're basically forcing the Russians to do that, which you're an idiot. The Russians were selling everything in euros and dollars, and now you're making sure that they don't. You shot yourself in the foot. What a clown. Who would do this in the EU or the US? These people are goddamn idiots. For multiple reasons, right? Like even if you think about their own self-interest, they're still idiots.